Welcome to this module offering an overview of managed applications. Hello, my name is David Starr, and in this module, we're going to walk through the fundamentals of managed applications and help orient you to the rest of the course. Now, don't worry, this won't be a module to tell you what's in all the other modules. Let's see what we're about to cover. Here's a quick overview of what you'll find in this module of the course. We'll take a quick look at Azure apps and see some of the different flavors of Azure applications. Next, you'll get an overview of managed applications, which is a type of Azure application, and it's the one we'll focus on in this course. Finally, we'll see how managed applications are integrated into the Azure Marketplace. Let's kick off with what an Azure application is. At their core, Azure apps are simply a way to package and deploy your software solution for your customers. As you'll come to understand throughout this course, they offer a powerful deployment architecture. One attribute is that it's a way to package existing software solutions, and it's a deployment architecture for installing software to the customer's tenant, not your own. Azure applications can contain anything that an ARM template can deploy. If you could deploy a service via an ARM template, you can include it in your Azure application. Also, it'll contain the proprietary software solution that you've written to run atop those ARM deployed resources. For these and other reasons, publishers often choose Azure apps to deploy their solution. Now, there are two types of Azure apps one can create: solution templates and managed applications. The biggest difference between these two Azure application types is transactability. Solution templates are not transactable in the Azure Marketplace. This means they cannot be sold through Microsoft. This also means that solution template offers are not eligible for most marketplace benefits afforded to transactable offers. Managed applications, on the other hand, are transactable. This means that Microsoft can sell the solution on your company's behalf, and deploying managed application offers comes with many business benefits which are beyond the scope of this video. Now, because of their transactability, the rest of this course focuses on managed applications, so don't expect to hear too much about solution template offers, that other type of Azure application. All right, so let's dig into managed applications. Managed apps have some very unique characteristics. Now, as we've mentioned, managed apps are transactable through the Azure Marketplace, and Microsoft will bill the customer on behalf of the publisher. Resources deploy into a special resource group called a managed resource group, or MRG, in the customer's tenant. We'll be talking a lot about the MRG in this course. Now, the fact that the MRG exists on the customer's tenant means the customer is paying for running the Azure resources that are part of the solution. Different deployment models dictate who will maintain the solution over time. We can specify what access rights the customer and the publisher have to the MRG. We'll cover this in much greater depth in the next module of this course on the different deployment modes. Now, speaking of that MRG, or Managed Resource Group, let's have a look at the Managed Application Deployment Model. Let's walk through a visual on what's deployed with a managed app and how to make the MRG ID more concrete. When a customer purchases the managed application, two things are deployed into the customer's tenant under the customer's subscription. A managed application instance is created, which essentially represents the subscription to the application. And I'll find this on my tenant. If I'm the customer, I can search for and find my managed application instances that I've purchased. Next, in a special resource group called the Managed Resource Group, the MRG that we've been talking about, this contains all of the resources deployed by the Azure application. And as I said, we'll visit the MRG over and over again throughout this course, what it contains, how the resources in it are managed, etc. Now, you can see that the MRG has some data storage services, an app service, and even a custom VM in this particular instance. But as I said, anything deployable by an ARM template can be created in this MRG when deployment of the managed application occurs. Depending on how you configure the application to be managed, the publisher may have access to the MRG and its contents. The same is true for customers, whose configuration to the MRG and its resources is also configurable. Thus, customers may have different types of access to the MRG. We'll explore this concept of access modes again in the next module of this course, and it's a pretty important module for you to go through. So please don't be tempted to skip through that one. Now that's the managed application deployment architecture in a nutshell. Managed apps can also be used internally to an organization or through the Azure Marketplace. Let's take a look at those differences. First of all, one can build managed applications that are meant to deploy only within an organization. Of course, this is meant to provide managed apps that are available for installation within an organization only. And we use an Azure service called Service Catalog to create the managed apps available inside the organization. Now, as we'll see, we can use the Service Catalog service for development of managed applications in general during our development process. Managed apps are also offered for sale to external customers. This is done by publishing the offer inside the Azure Marketplace. This has nothing to do with Service Catalog, which is internal only. This makes the product sellable and transactable. Now let's take a moment to learn just a little bit about the Service Catalog and how we might use it. Let's look at a simple model of what it means to publish and deploy an app through the Service Catalog. First, a deployment package file is created and uploaded to a blob storage account. We're going to talk a little bit more in a moment about what goes into this deployment package file. It's just a zip file that contains certain assets you're going to need that define the behavior of your deployment. Then, in the Service Catalog, we create an application definition, and that references that deployment package file. Finally, we can deploy from that app definition to create the actual application. And remember, this is all happening internally. Now, the Service Catalog can be very useful in the development of new apps. It gives developers an opportunity to test out their deployments before needing to test in the Azure Marketplace, which would take longer in between iterations. So there are several assets needed to package and deploy an application. For example, you'll need an ARM template. So the first step is to create these assets that will deploy your solution, and that's what goes into that package file, that deployment package file that we were talking about just a moment ago. Next, the deployment assets are loaded into the Service Catalog. This makes the solution available for deployment. Deploy the app as an internal application to check the deployment process. This gives developers an opportunity to try their deployment package before integrating into a formal offer in the Azure Marketplace. The basic idea here is that we can use the Service Catalog during our process of building up our managed application assets that we ultimately will publish into the marketplace. We discussed how the Service Catalog in Azure can be helpful to our development process, and it's important to remember that it's a great tool, but does not make our application available as an offer in the Azure Marketplace. Now, we spent a little time here on Service Catalog because it will be used in labs and in some later demos, so it's useful to know what it is. Now that we've seen a bit about managed apps and the fact that we can use them in the context of a Service Catalog in Azure, let's focus on how managed apps work in the Azure Marketplace. At the time of this recording, there are 4 transactable offer types one may choose from when creating offers for the Azure Marketplace, and these differ based on deployment architectures. Offers that integrate with the publisher's software as a service product architecture are SaaS offers. Container offers allow packaging your solution into containers and deploying to the customer's Azure Kubernetes service. Virtual machine offers allow packaging solutions onto virtual machines and deploying those VMs into the customer's tenant. managed applications, of course, which are the focus of this course. Just know that there are different deployment models based on different solution architecture needs, but all managed app offers deploy into the customer's tenant. That's something to keep in mind. And you've already seen that it's deployed into the customer's tenant, so now let's see how that works with the Azure Marketplace. Here's a public marketplace offer that's been defined and has 3 associated plans: Silver, Gold, and Platinum, say, just for example purposes. Now, when a customer subscribes to the Gold plan, for example, the deployment occurs. The Gold plan has a deployment package for the managed app, and it deploys the required elements or services into the customer's tenant, into that MRG. Note that each plan has its own definition of the managed app and can therefore deploy different resources into an MRG per plan. So my Silver plan might include a particular database, whereas my Gold plan may include a different one or none at all. Each plan has an associated deployment package that's held in that zip file. We've talked about that just a little bit, and note that they associate 2 plans. So these deployment packages contain artifacts like the ARM template that does the deployment and the file that defines the user interface a customer sees when subscribing to the offer. There are some considerations for how to set up your offer such that the customer is billed for the solution. At the time of this recording, only monthly billing is supported for managed applications. This may change with time as more billing options are explored. For example, annual billing, that's a possible billing model. It's just not supported today for managed applications. Today, a publisher may, for example, set the monthly price of the solution. It's even possible to set the monthly charge as $0. It also supports metered billing. In addition to flat rate pricing, metered billing is available on managed apps, and we'll go much deeper into metered billing later in the course. But for now, think of this as billing per transaction. The managed application can charge for specific transactions that take place in the application. For example, take the case of a document scanning service. The solution may charge some amount per month as a flat fee, and an additional amount per scan, 1 penny for example. With these billing capabilities, publishers can construct different ways to price their solutions in the marketplace. All right, let's have a quick look at what we talked about in this module. We got a high-level overview of Azure Applications and saw that there are 2 types of them: solution templates and managed apps. Managed apps being the transactable type and therefore the focus of this course. You got an overview of managed applications to include the basic deployment architecture. And we saw that we can use managed apps with the Azure Marketplace to deliver transactable solutions to our customers. This means publishers can package and sell their software solutions through the Azure Marketplace using this very powerful deployment model and architecture. Thank you for joining us for another video from Mastering the Marketplace, the learning library where technologists go to get their offer on the Microsoft Marketplace. For more videos, hands-on labs, and sample code, find us at aka.ms/masteringthemarketplace.